convener for Fashion Fables Runway Africa, which was formerly known as Fashion Fusion Africa. And this is an official press conference to actually tell you guys that we have now rebranded and we no longer have Fashion Fusion Africa in existence. So right now, this event is going to be called Fashion Fables Runway Africa from the stables of the organizers of Fashion Fusion Africa. I had that former event with the people from Outbox, which is where my partners, but right now we have split ways and Fashion Fusion Africa sadly it doesn't exist anymore. So now we are rebranding in my own by myself and my team. We are now Fashion Fables Runway Africa. Why? Because we believe that in pushing the fashion narrative in Africa, we want to tell stories around fabrics, which was actually our original idea of Fashion Fusion Africa, which is now Fashion Fables Runway Africa. What are fables? Fables are stories, So fables are stories you tell around fashion, around entertainment, around whatever. In fact, our general lifestyle are fables. Our existence in life is a story. It's all fables. And from whatever religion we have, we're all told what stories are, which are fables. So right now we are telling stories around Africa in a more genuine manner. So the idea behind this whole relaunch and rebranding is to give us a better focus on African fashion and everything around the entertainment industry in the best way possible. So we represent a brand, that gives you a true narrative of what Africa possesses. We have told enough stories about our fabrics. For example, the kente in Ghana, which is even imbibed in some of the international universities as part of their robes. We haven't told enough stories about our tie and dye, adire, for example, in the West. We haven't told enough stories about the equator in the East. We haven't told enough stories about the tie and dye in the North. So there are a lot of things that fabrics that we haven't told our stories around, and that's because even the Zulu skin attire and the rest of them from South Africa, we haven't been able to tell a lot of stories and merge these things in one space. So what Fashion Fables Runway Africa is all about is that it brings the unity of designers from all over Africa. Designers who come together to network, not only network, to have a business and also have a fashion story around 52 countries in Africa and more, so that the world can at large can hear the stories from our mouth. Not that they just know that we exist. They should know that we have an identity, and the identity we have in unison is Africa. And last time you remember when we had a show, we had a collage, which is bringing my people together, which was the day we had the Uhuru, and we had used a Swahili word, to bring people together. So this is also an idea to tell people that okay, Fashion Fables Runway Africa still exists, and we believe in the unity in Africa as well. Not just West Africa. We are telling the story all around Africa, and even for Africans in the diaspora, even those abroad, those in European countries and Africa, they will have something to identify with. There's going to be a story around us, and we'll be able to merge these stories together to be able to tell stories from our history makers, from the Selassies of Ethiopia, from even as far as the Egyptians, the Pharaoh story, all around fabrics. Also the Nigerian story, we had the Queen Amina of Zazzau. We've also had the Amaboni, the Amaboni of the Gala Kingdom. We've also had the Obi of Onitsha. We also have the no, we have royalty, we have stories to tell. We have the Oba of Benin, of course you can't take that away, Oduduwa and the rest of them. So these are stories that you will use to tell that Africa still exists, and everything we have to do around our fashion industry actually have something to tell about our lifestyle, our food, our culture, our hair, which is our crown, is something that we want to represent all around the world, for the world to really know our genuineness as Africans and see the story and hear the story from the true points, which is from our mouth. That is basically the idea around Fashion Fables Runway Africa. So it's FFRA. That is the new definition of our story. Thank you.